going to the Pentagon for 9/11 is probably the most memorable and the most important thing I ever did in my career.
Welcome to the Cops and Riders Podcast. Your host, Sergeant Patrick O'Donnell, worked the streets in one of the nation's largest police departments for over 25 years. Ride along with O'Donnell and his expert guests as they help you navigate the oftentimes confusing and misunderstood world of law enforcement. O'Donnell and his guests on this show do not represent any law enforcement agency. The content of this show is not meant to be legal advice. If you think you need a lawyer, you probably do.
Hey, Cops and Writers, thanks for being here with us today for another episode of the Cops and Writers Podcast. I'm Patrick O'Donnell, and I'll be your host for today's show. This show is listener-supported, so thanks to all of you who keep the show going. I would especially like to thank those of you who are patrons of the show. Your generosity helps pay for the software, equipment, and my time producing this show. Yes, you too can become a patron for less than a cup of coffee or a pint of Guinness. Just go over to patreon.com/Cops and Writers. Welcome back, everyone, for the conclusion of my interview with retired ATF Special Agent Jennifer Eskew. A little bit about Jennifer. Jennifer Clark Eskew is a former Virginia State Trooper, a retired ATF Senior Special Agent, an author, and subject matter expert in undercover operations, fire and explosive origin, and cause determinations, and criminal investigations involving the violent crimes of arson and bombings, armed career criminals, and financial fraud. Jennifer graduated from the Virginia State Police Academy in 1986, beginning her career as a uniformed trooper, then as an undercover trooper. This time period of her law enforcement career is the focus of her newly released debut true crime memoir, Becoming Fire: Chasing the Passion to Protect, Serve, and Love. Jennifer became a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, in 1990. She worked undercover and investigated criminal cases, eventually joining the ATF National Response Team in 1994, becoming a certified explosive specialist and a certified fire investigator. She was involved in numerous large-scale arson bombing investigations to include Centennial Park, Sandy Springs double bombings, the Otherside Lounge bombing, and the 9/11 Pentagon terror attack. She's currently writing her second true crime memoir, highlighting her undercover casework with the ATF. Please enjoy this fascinating conversation as we focus on her career with the ATF and the dangerous undercover and high-profile cases she investigated.
At the time, and right now, the big news is the Colonial Parkway murders are becoming solved by DNA, but the person who did it, Alan Wilmer, is dead. It's just a lot of things are being solved. The DNA is finally coming through. In the meantime, like I said, I'd gone through that breakup. Everything was kind of messy. It's it's middle of 1989, and I get called in by one of the headquarters sergeants, and he asked me how would I like to work as a full-time undercover. Not of course, there's no promotion in it. There's a two-step increase in pay of about $80 more a month. But, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
It's my opportunity to just disappear and become somebody new.
Yeah.
To just reinvent myself completely and just not be so caught up in the whole breakup and everybody gossiping and just everything that goes on, and just move on. And I was ready. Let's pack. Let's go today. And they go, well, no, it's in about a month. About a month. And that's what we did. And so I ended up assigned to a different city, different location, got a new name, new social security, date of birth, got a undercover, really ragged out Camaro assigned to me. That city was working with the state, and they got a female who had finished the academy. They put her in dispatch so she wouldn't be seen, and brought her in with me, and we shared a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in a housing project, and they just kind of turned us loose and said, okay, go buy dope. And it doesn't really work that way. It's like, we're going to need some informants. And we stayed there and lived together for 6 months.
Okay.
And we bought...
That's a long time.
We bought a lot of dope. We we found that we couldn't work it together because as we worked together, we kept getting invited to parties.
Yeah.
And guys wanting to just give us like accommodation dope. We weren't making buys. We weren't doing really well with that. But when we separated out and they finally got some informants and they finally got things going, then we could always buy dope. It was a lot easier. And so she was buying all kinds of dope in her area. I was buying all kind of dope in my area. And it turned out to be the biggest undercover drug thing that they had ever worked in the central Centennial Valley region
Now,
up till that point.
is this a part of a task force, like a multi-agency task force, or was it just state police?
Originally, it was just going to be the state police and the city of Stanton. And after we'd been into it for a little bit, they finally convinced the Augusta County as well as the Waynesboro Police Department, hey, get involved in this. This is what we got. And we're working these undercover females, and they can buy, we can do. If you've got informants or got some people to target them to, we can do better. And everybody signed on to it and said, yeah, this will be great. But how you really work it is, I went from having one guy watching out for me with a body wire and him following me around at night, trying to do our thing, to now occasionally I had two guys in the car and me, and that was it. And then she had the same thing. She either had one or two people watching out for her.
That isn't much. Yeah.
No, and that's it. Because everybody's like, oh, yeah, we had a tag team this, we had a tag team that. I didn't have a tag team.
No,
I had me, I had them, and they were so many blocks away. And I hoped that they knew where I was and that the body wire was still working. And
right.
Yeah, it was a lot of difference.
Wow. So you're with the state police for how many years?
I stayed a total of 4.5, and that's when I got the offer to go to ATF.
Why ATF? Why go over there?
I had a friend that was very insistent that I start looking. He was really adamant that I wasn't going to make it with the state police as an agent for 10 years. And it wasn't going to be because I was female. He said, that may play a part. He said, but that's not it. He said, what's going to be is the promotional process is slow. And it was he said, too slow for you. It's not what you want it now. And you have the ability and you have you're smart enough. This is what you should be doing. And if this is what you really, really want, and this is what's going to really, really make you happy, then you've got to try it at every angle and take a look at the feds, apply for the feds. So I started going to the federal agencies in the city of Norfolk, down to the federal building, and getting applications, and started typing those out, getting them ready. And I looked at DEA, ATF, let me see, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, which I really liked their interviews. I really liked them a lot.
Okay.
And a couple of others that I talked to, Secret Service and all. And the FBI kept trying to recruit me, and I didn't feel that. And IRS was not my. I told you, I was trying to figure out how to get out of doing math just for college. There's no way I was going to the IRS. But it was really treated great. Customs was another one. Yeah. And I got really treated great when I went in and met all these people. And the initial meetings, the initial filling out the paperwork, the initial interviews with them all went wonderful. And then as processes go and as money goes with the federal government, some would tell me, hey, look, we're not hiring right now, maybe next year. Get a little of that. Or our testing is going to be a year away. You have to do the testing before we can move you any further. A lot of little excuses that kept popping up.
Right.
So I was kind of down to the last. It's not that I didn't want to go with ATF. I kind of loved the idea of ATF. And I saw them on this TV show, and it was coming on late at night in our area because of all this stuff going on in the D.C. metro area. Mm. And it was like, wow, they are really dynamic. They're doing a lot of stuff with the guns and the gangs. And that's where you can make the most difference. And that I would love to be doing that.
Yeah.
And then it was just like trying to get them to call me back. I was trying to okay, and they would just stay in touch, call us if anything changes, and so I would every few months, and we'll call you when something comes. Yeah. But just let us know if you change phone numbers. And okay, and then after a while, you realize I don't think they're going to call me back. And I was kind of in that position, and while I was undercover, we ended up bringing in ATF because I was being recruited to buy guns by the gangs that I was working with. And it just, the next thing you know, they're calling and they find out about all the work I've done and everything I've been involved in this undercover thing. And it's like, yeah, it. What would you think of a GS7 and starting in Bristol, Virginia, which was the complete western side of the state, opposite, 2 hours south of Radford, in the southwest, in the southwestern Virginia, in the southern Appalachia. You're going to leave being I was a beach trooper. Then I was undercover, but I'm now going to leave and I'm going to go to the mountains. And he wasn't saying DC, he wasn't saying New York, wasn't saying Jersey, wasn't saying something like that would have scared me. You know, he was saying, and I'm thinking, yeah, still in Virginia, still opportunity. So when they offered it, I was like, yeah, that sounds all right to me. And I think it was my exact words. And so when that came, I jumped on it and I was tickled to death. It was like, yay, ATF.
So what was your first UC job with ATF?
2 weeks after I finished the ATF Academy. So I'd been with them a year. Okay. Actually, a year and a month in total. And 2 weeks after I got out of the academy, we had this informant that came with one of the local county guys that we worked with a lot. That did a lot of undercover, Ross, good guy. And so there's a biker, and turns out that he marries her just before this event, like 3 days before. So it's actually his wife, and she was very, very much affiliated with some of the outlaw motorcycle folks in that area.
What were some of the clubs over there?
Let's see. Originally, it was like the Henchmen, but a couple more clubs popped up in that area. I can't even remember the names of them right off the top of my head. But anyway, they were all in that area, and they, they kind of had a loose affiliation, I would call it, with the Hells Angels. They were never really tight in any of that. They had their own thing going on, and they had a clubhouse at a place called Boozy Creek. They had a lot of things happening, and so with everything that was going on, they were out of weed, and at this time, they were wanting pounds, and they were trying to find pounds of weed. And of course, the whole idea was if they could come up with about 10 to 15 pounds a week, they could move it, but they needed a lot of poundage right now. And so we had 12 pounds that we could sell them. And so we had this deal go at a hotel or a little motel, a little 8-room motel, the Cherokee Inn. And we took over room number 4. It was myself and the other undercover guy, Ross, and they were to meet us there. So Calandros, that was the guy that we were dealing with, Mike Calandros, he shows up to the room. We've got a van out in the parking lot watching us. This is the first time I've ever had a TAC team anywhere.
Yeah.
I got a van full of guys out there, watching us, and everything is going on. It's all good. We're wired up. I'm wearing all of the gear. And he comes, he's there, and he comes in, introduces himself kind of really quick. And then the first thing out of his mouth is, lift your shirt up, whatever like that, because he wants to see who else wearing a body wire.
Oh, sure.
Well, my partner, he kind of raises his shirt up and shows him, his belly or whatever and all. And I'm sitting there because I can't. I've got this Nagra reel-to-reel recorder that's taped to my back. And I've got like this sort of girdle thing wrapped around me to hold it. And I'm sitting in the chair, and then tucked down in my waistband in the back I've got a SIG 9mm. And I can't do anything. Right. And I've got another body wire that they can hear me out in the van. The Kel-Tec is on me. So I cannot raise my shirt no matter what.
I'm surprised the room wouldn't be wired up.
The room is got a wire in it too, but we've got everything, and we're sitting right there. It's just a simple small motel room. It's nothing much.
Right.
So when he says that, I looked at him and said, I ain't lifting my shirt for no damn body. And the look on his face was like, and then he kind of realized he thinks he might have insulted me, but then he's like looking back at Ross, my undercover partner, because I think he's like, oh shit, I did well, okay, no, so he's trying to like apologize, whatever. Well, as he's going into this sort of like, oh, okay, no problem, whatever. I said, did you bring a gun? Because I saw his gun tucked in his waistband when he raised his shirt, because he kind of pulled his shirt up just a little bit, like he was being cool with us. And so he says, yes. I said, I can't believe you brought a gun to this deal. What I'm doing is I'm talking, and that body wire is picking it up, and those guys are sitting in the surveillance van are hearing it. They now know
he's armed.
It's not just myself and my undercover partner that are carrying guns. The bad guy has brought a gun to this deal. There is a gun that we need to be concerned about in this room and stuff. And I get him talking about it, to which he chats, and then my partner's talking to him. Thanks, everybody's really cool about it. And I'm like, you boys and your toys, I cannot believe you brought a gun. I don't know what's wrong with you, boy. And I just do that. I'm trying to be sure you heard it. They got it. He gives the signal to his partner to bring the cash money. And I'm trying to remember how he did that, but I think he just used our motel room phone, because there's really no other way.
Right.
And he steps out the porch, because there's a little porch on this 8-room motel. And he's out there for a little bit, all of a sudden, she's driving a green Jaguar, so she drives up, and that's her. And so Donna is her name, but she comes to the room and she brings us. I forget exactly how much cash we did get for that. It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
Probably $15,000 or something, but it was a lot of cash for that night. As soon as the deal is done, though, and everything is good to go, and they're starting to load up, because I've got pounds of this stuff to get out to the car and put it in, and we've got them in garbage bags and stuff, because we had 12 pounds of the weed. We've given the signal. Ross gave the signal, so that meant that the TAC team, that they're supposed to hit the door.
Come on in, yeah.
And while we're all standing in the room, and him and I both know that it's just a matter of a few seconds, and the door's going to come crashing in. And about that time, you hear the police, boom! Except they're not in our room. They've just knocked the door in on room 3. Now, we've been in room 4 all night. That's where everybody's focus is at. And it's like, so now the deer in headlight, everybody is staring at everybody else. What the hell? What the heck? Because you could see it, everything. And then 2 seconds, and then suddenly the guys are coming in our room, and you can still hear the commotion going, in the other room. Oh, my
God, that's funny.
And we're all getting on the ground because everybody's being arrested. So everybody's giving everybody the look of, you screwed us over. No, you screwed us over. You can see that little, thing going on, everything. So we're all, everybody's getting arrested. And at the same time, you're just like, they kicked the room next door. They kicked the door on this thing and everything. So it was just one of those moments. It went fine. It's funny later. At that particular moment, it had that sort of heart-stopping, oh, hell. Because who's going to pull a gun first?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
But nobody does. Everybody just stands there very...
That's funny. For your first, UC job, that's funny. I like that.
Very first one.
So,
and,
what was the most memorable assignment you had with the ATF? What sticks in your head the best? Or worst, depending how you look at it. What's the craziest thing you saw when you were a cop? My first week on the job, a guy running at me with a butcher knife. He just killed his brother over the last hot dog. That's chapter 1. There are 33 more. Police Stories, The Rookie Years, just launched. Available now on Amazon. Search Police Stories Patrick O'Donnell or click the link in the show notes. Back to the show.
That kind of gets in the whole, everything. On an undercover deal, of course, I did a murder for hire back in 93. But on a job, on a investigation level, going to the Pentagon for 9/11 is probably the most memorable and the most important thing I ever did in my career. Just doing that work there.
Was that evidence collection, or what was your task?
Yeah. I was with the National Response Team for 23 years while I was with ATF. I was with them 28, but I was on the National Response Team for 23 as a part-time member. And so I became a certified fire investigator and a certified explosive specialist.
Gotcha.
And I ended up at a lot of things, from the Centennial Park Olympics, and just all the different bombings there with Eric Rudolph. But 9/11 is probably the most impactful, the most, I don't really, it's hard to put that in words. That day
Sure.
was hard for everybody who had to go anywhere from New York to Pentagon to Pennsylvania, to everybody that was ever impacted on that or affected by it in any way or a part of it in any way. It's
How
tough.
soon after the plane went into the Pentagon did you
Uh,
respond?
okay, that
Was it days?
we,
Was it
we
week?
no 9/11. We went that day. We
Okay.
responded that day, that Tuesday. We got the calls. Of course, phone lines were going down. Everything was kind of weird and stuff. But we got the call, and they were telling us, me and another guy in the office were NRT, and they said, go to New York. And we were going to New York, and we knew we had friends in Roanoke and in Knoxville and
Hmm.
Chattanooga. They were also on the team in Nashville, and we were all headed to New York. We were going that way. And everybody was trying to grab their gear, and they were like, just, you're going to be gone. We don't know when you're coming home. Just
Sure.
go. Just bring everything. Bring everything.
Yeah.
And so you're just throwing it all into your bags, and you're going. And we were just north of Roanoke when they were trying to reach us on the radio, and somebody was able to get to a payphone there. We all pulled over, filled up with gas. If you hadn't filled up before, fill up again,
Yeah.
and use your brake wisely because it's only going to be a couple of minutes. And um, they said reroute, go to the Pentagon. New York is closed. Like
Wow.
that, you're taking it on. New York City is closed.
Mm.
Like really, and of course little pieces of information are coming to us. People are telling us, hey, look, they've shut down LA, they've shut down this, they've shut down that, and you're just like, wow. So we continued our drive on, and we got to the Pentagon. I said, and a normal drive had been a 6 hour thing. We got there a lot faster than that because we had troopers running
Okay.
in front of us. In fact, they were driving way faster than our cars
Yeah.
allowed. Our governor on them. But and the truck drivers were getting out of our way and all. I want to say we made it there between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe
Mm.
sooner, maybe 2 o'clock. I don't know. It was earlier, much earlier. The smoke, everything was still going on. It was
Yeah.
still very much an active, horrible scene, and you're still trying to get as much information as you can from radios and from people and what's happening in the world. So we were there, and we were gearing up and getting ready because we were ready, whatever they wanted us to do, and getting our stuff set up and just whatever was going to be. And they started talking about it, what we were going to do, and this back and forth about how many they're going to need, and they really needed like 50 of us. Of course, I think they would have used all of us if they could have, but at that
Sure.
point, it's this whole who's in charge thing, and it definitely wasn't us. And then you had people that had to go to New York City, and you had people that had to be in Shanksville, and we had people going in all those directions. Plus, we had our offices were in, I think it was World Trade Center 6 or something like that in
Oh.
New York City. So you've got a whole lot of folks that nobody has accounted for. Everything is just so fluid and so chaotic. And then we stayed. We were there, and we worked it for the next several weeks at the Pentagon. We did exactly like what they were doing in New York, just not to that scale, of course, but we were
Sure.
doing it. Uh, they had us going in first, clean out Corridor C because the jet were already gone through, and then the rear landing gear had hit and had punched out a wall into Corridor
Mm.
C, and that's where like so much debris and so many things were there. So we were collecting all of that. One of the very first things we found was my friend Joe Mann found a piece of shirt. Well, my friend Donna Slusser, she overturned what appeared to be a portion of a seat, an
Yeah.
airline seat,
Oh.
and with that there was this piece of material that was pink. It probably was a white shirt, but it was
Yeah.
pink from the like blood stains, and it had the pilot's ID clipped to it.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
like one of the very first things I remember that we located. It was really early on. And of course, there was human remains there that had to be taken and collected. And that was the very first time. That's when you knew what we were about to be doing for the next several weeks, that this is what we were doing.
Mm.
And they were on us about finding the black boxes, and they felt like they were inside the building. So we had to go through the punch out wall, and a lot of our guys were getting in there. We were cutting and doing and trying to get through. And you've got lights and you're trying to see and you're trying to get through all this stuff. And inside the building where there's all this water, where between the fire departments and the sprinkler heads. So even walking through to get to corridor C, you're in water that's already coming up over the top of your boots. And then you're in the corridor. It's not wet, it's dry, but at the inside the building, you're in muck and mire and burnout stuff, and you can smell the I call it diesel, but it's actually jet fuel, which is like a kerosene. It's like a kerosene.
Yep.
So you can smell that and the burnt stuff. And this is all permeating everything. And I remember the first day we finished, and we've cleaned that whole corridor out, and we're just about done, maybe. And we're taking a break. We're going to have a couple of Oreo cookies and some water. That's what was brought to us, and that was fine. And we're going to stand out of the sun, stand in this one area. And this gentleman comes out of the building, but he comes from the inside of the Pentagon out towards us in corridor C. So he's from the inner circle, inner part of the Pentagon and all. And he's the deputy chief. He's Paul Wolfowitz, I think it is.
Okay.
He's like the number 2 guy, like Paul Wolfowitz or something. He's like the number 2 guy at the Pentagon. He's it.
Wow.
And he seemed so. He looked shook. The man looked shook.
Sure.
But he's in his gorgeous business suit, the whole thing, and he wanted to come and meet all of us and shake our hands and thank us and stuff. And that's what he did. I mean, and he's standing there, and of course, you're sitting there with a chocolate Oreo cookie on your teeth, but you're shaking hands with the man, and just times thank you, and whatever coming out, this is what we do, and he was just being so pleasant and so humble and very appreciative, I guess is the way to put it. He was very appreciative, and you got that feeling that this man hasn't had any sleep in 2 days at all. I mean, because this is the 13th. I remember it being the 13th. And I just remember that if I had to decide that somebody had not slept, this man had not slept. This man has been wide awake and been in meetings and been dealing with every event that's going on that whole time. And like I said, we did all of that. We got the black boxes. Because as soon as we got the black boxes, suddenly the FBI let us know that folks think that the building's going to collapse.
Oh, shit.
And so we got to get out. So now we got to get out. And it's like, okay, whatever you guys say.
Thanks, guys.
We went out. Yeah.
Now,
did you have us down the good?
Did you have the right equipment for the job? Like, as far as that's a very toxic environment to be breathing in.
We did.
Okay.
We did, and we got it and all, but we didn't have it enough for what we've had. We have lost 3 of our agents that worked at New York City at that debris, and they were there for a long time, working. We have lost 5 of our NRT members that were at the Pentagon from 9/11 related illnesses as well.
Yep.
So that's 8 so far that we've lost.
Ugh.
I'm going to guesstimate, only because I do keep up with our retirees on this as much as they will allow me to know, or as much as I can help them with getting involved with the World Trade Center Health Program and victim compensation funds and all.
Right.
We probably had 20, 25 or more that have been ill with some kind of 9/11 related illness.
Sure.
One of our team leaders for the NRT passed away a year ago, Frank Malter, and he had the interstitial lung disease, which is and that's a very much a 9/11 related illness. There's just a lot of things, but we had the training, we had the gear, we had the stuff. The big thing was, I think, in those first few days, all of that stuff wasn't really right there. There was a big hurry up and get this done. And you just sort of make that sort of sacrifice. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get a mask when I come back out.
Right.
I'll get this when I come back out. Or, they're going to get us some Tyvek. They don't have any right now, but they're trying to get it here. We'll get that later. All the kind of things that go on like that. And a lot of people got exposed that way because you're trying so desperately to do something. There's always that thought that you're going to rescue somebody. And you don't want to think that it's just recovery operations. You want to think that that somehow or another, some miracle, that there's going to be some rescues by somebody,
Yeah.
whether it's USAR, the fire department, whoever it might be. You're just thinking that maybe there's going to be a miracle here. And so we ended up working at 24 hours a day, 24/7. We split our team,
Yeah.
and we sifted every piece of debris that came out of there. So well over 5 tons. We sifted night and day, 24/7, down to where you sift it by hand. We had a lot of canine teams that were volunteer folks that brought in their canines. We had veterinary services that were out there with us 24/7. They had a trailer parked away from us, but over where we could, in case something happened to the search dogs.
Sure.
You worked, and we drove the little bobcat skid steers and moved the piles of debris. You sift it with rakes, you sift it with hands. We moved everything that they said was classified. We put it where they wanted it. We picked up the human remains. We got that out of there. Just everything. Pieces of the plane.
How long were you there doing that?
I feel like I was there about 3.5 weeks. A lot of us over the time where everybody asked, when did we leave? And we're like, I don't know. Did we leave like the 30th of September? Was it the 27th or 30th?
Yeah.
And then because some left after us, others were able to come in later to come and finish out that last week of like really cleaning up the gear and cleaning out everything and making sure everything was done. And there was just so much going on. I just remember getting sick. I remember having like a sinus sort of infection thing that was going on, and I couldn't, whatever, and I was trying to shake it off. We drove back out to my office there in Bristol to our homes, and I threw all my stuff into the washing machines and trying to get all my gear cleaned and get everything ready. And the very next day we got called out. We had to go to Moosic, Pennsylvania for an explosion, completely unrelated to anything terror-wise.
Yeah.
A guy had explosives. He had a explosive storage place, but he was also making illegal M80s, and he blew himself to smithereens, and he also severely handicapped and he hurt one of his employees by doing that. That guy got severely injured. So I remember we drove to Moosic, Pennsylvania, and we were there for like a week. So by the time I got home and got back and everything, and then I realized I am really sick with something. I've got some kind of sinus something. And so I ended up, years later, I got diagnosed with cancer in 2021 that was 9/11 related cancer. I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. Mine was caught very early, taken care of very early. My doctors did a great job with everything. And I get my clearance. April is my 5-year date, and I'm I will be good. And I'm just looking out for my friends now, because I got a lot of them that I want them to get their 5-year. I want them to get that, get past these stage 3 and stage 4 cancers that they're fighting. And I want everybody else to just stay in touch with the doctors and keep your health, get in there and get checked out every year. Make sure.
What kind of cancer did you wind up with?
Oh, I had uterine cancer.
Okay.
And initially they weren't really counting that one, and then I guess because there wasn't as many females sort of thing, and then they finally came back and they said, we're getting a larger percentage of females that were exposed that are showing up with us that we didn't have before. But like I said, we've seen lung cancers, blood cancers, brain cancers, kidney, all kinds of things, bladder cancer. So there's just a lot of things. There's like 69 cancers that are on the 9/11 related illness
list. Oh my Lord.
But there are also these other health related issues that have come up, and like the interstitial lung disease, asthma is one. People that were never had that, never dealt with that, who have stayed physically fit their whole life, like people that are just really great at getting out and doing, are suddenly having these issues, and it's like, you got asthma. You're like, what?
Where did that come from? Yeah. Holy cow. Now, how do you decompress from something like that? How do you, it's like, it's horrific. You're on scene, you're doing all of this, and I'm sure, you seem like a very task-oriented person, and it's like, let's get this job done. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to do the right thing. And then all of a sudden, you're pulled away. How do you decompress from all that?
Um, I think unfortunately we learn these wonderful habits as a trooper and as a cop or whatever, being out there. You got other duties. There's something else you got
Yep.
to do. So hey, I'm gonna get called to something else, so I don't have time to like um don't get caught too much up in this. Just keep moving because you got something else to do. There's other things to do. Other people are counting on you. So don't slow down. Don't think about it. Move on. And I think yeah, that adds to a lot of issues later on in your life
Yes, it
because
does.
you suddenly your PTSD, which I did get diagnosed through the World Trade Center program with that. To which it's like okay, and your suggestion for that is, and it's like
Right.
well, it's like
Yeah.
okay, you're good, and I'm thinking no. I said, well, writing helps me, and
Yeah.
talking about it helps me. Uh, Encouraging other people to, hey, do not just pop open the bottle, and start drinking on these things. Get some help, seek some help, doing whatever and all. I'm not going to say that I haven't had a couple of drinks every once in a while to just sort of, as I call it, press it down, just like,
Sure.
just get out of my head doing. But I am not really prone to doing things like um, you know, I can go months and months and months and not have a drink for any reason. I
Sure.
can be with all my friends and just go, no, I'm not drinking tonight because I just
Right.
don't. So I'm not prone to drinking. Drugs was never my thing. Um, three card poker is pretty good. I like that, but I'm also cautious. Going, look, I won 1,000. I've lost 1,000. It's time to leave the table.
Yeah,
So
that's the smart way to do it. Yes,
and people are going,
exactly.
what? It's like, well, I started with 100. I'd like to go back with at least 90, so I feel pretty good. But quit now. So I'm not really prone into those things. But at the same time, you get that stuff and it starts spinning in your head, and you
Oh yeah.
think, and I think what hurt me more was as a trooper or in that part of my world is not being able to fix things that were horrible.
Mm,
Um, not being able to save somebody's life. That hurts a lot. Not being able to take a bad guy off the street before they killed somebody.
right.
That bothers you because you were right there. You were so close. You almost got them before they did something else. That's more worrisome and it gets in your head if you think on it too much. But there's a point in your career, and you remember when you realize you can't fix everything, that you just can't. And it doesn't matter how hard you try, it's just not meant to be.
Yeah.
So,
So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a trooper or an ATF agent?
if it's really what you want to do, then I highly advise you to do it. If you're worried about what kind of college degree to have or what kind of background to have, or anything like that, don't let that get into your head. If you got a degree and it's in computers, great, because they can use people with those
Yeah.
degrees in law enforcement. If your degree is in journalism, great, because they can use people with writing skills and ability to get reports and things like that and to understand those aspects of why things should be. If you have a degree in history, it's still fine. It's whatever you want to do to apply yourself because you're going to learn the things you need in a police academy and through field training officers, and also through being on job, the experiences you're going to learn. The question is, do you have the drive? Do you have the desire? And then if you do, go for it. But don't sit back and tell everybody, I want to do this, but I don't really want to do the running at the academy.
Sure.
That's really not an option. Or I want to do it, but I only want to arrest people who do these things. It's like, no, you have to enforce the laws that have been passed by a legislator and governors or presidents and signed into law. That's the will of the nation. That's how it goes. You don't get to pick and choose on where I'll show up and where I won't show up, or who I will
Right.
protect, who I won't protect.
Right.
You protect everybody. You had better learn to be, if you haven't learned to be colorblind yet in your life, you need to be, because you need to be helping everybody. There shouldn't be somebody that you decided you weren't going to help or you weren't going to be there for. Because I didn't have time for that when I was dealing with people. If
Sure.
I stop somebody, fine. If I show up in an accident, whoever was there, I'm there to help them. And I when I was working undercover, I bought from everybody. I didn't care if you were selling drugs, you were a problem, and you're the problem that the community doesn't need right now. You need to be gone. So I'm here to take care of that problem. That was the job, the assignment. Um, you're supposed to be out there helping everybody. I guess
Okay.
you know,
That's
and that's
fair.
why I want people to do it. If that's what you want to be, then remember you're out there to help everybody.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears here. You wrote the book Becoming Fire, Chasing the Passion to Protect, Serve, and Love,
Yes, I
a
did.
true crime memoir. First question, how impactful was it to have Joe Kenda write the foreword?
Ah, you know what? It was great, and it
I
was
love
so
Joe. I absolutely love him.
yes, and it's been really cool. I think the thing was really I wasn't sure if asking him since I didn't really know him. My friend knows him really, really, really well, but I don't know the man, and I'm thinking I don't know if he'd want to do something like that, but I'm going to ask my friend and see if he thinks he would. And if Joe has any reservations or hesitations about it, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal, you know. And he asked him, and he was just like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "Now he's busy on Thursday, whatever like that, but he's giving me the email and the phone number." It's like, and I said, "Well, I can't call that man and bother him. He doesn't know me." He goes, "Send him an email." So I sent him an email on a Saturday morning, and I put like a summarization of just things about the book and about me, and just sort of sent that along, whatever. Well, it's Sunday. We're headed to my grandson's 13th birthday, and I get my friend calling me. Goes, "Hey, Joe wants to call you." It's like, what? He goes, "He wants to call you. He's got the forward done, and he he wants to make sure you're okay with it." And I'm like, "I just sent that to him yesterday morning." He goes, "Yeah." He said he jumped right on it. He goes, "You know Joe." I said, "Well, I
Wow.
don't really know Joe except from you." And I said, "Yeah." So I am bebopping into this birthday party, and I am just grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
So, one, it's good to see everybody, but two, I have got a forward from Joe Kenda, and it's like, how absolutely cool is this? This is like a bucket list thing. It's like, oh, this
Yep.
is at the top of the bucket list. And that worked out great. And I also want to credit my people who did the book blurbs because they are all fascinating people, great writers, all of their own. Scott Morales.
Oh yeah.
He's he's got his own books out there. He's doing excellent, and he's been in the law enforcement game for many many
Right.
decades, so he's got that experience and that background. So, and Cops and Writers, he's one of the main people that will get back to you and
Oh
give you
yeah.
the right. So he was great. He supported me on this. There's Tracy Ullman that you don't probably know, and yet she is a writer and she is a producer on these shows. The Serial Killer's Apprentice is she co-authored the book with that, and she also did the documentary with that. And that's Dr. Catherine Ramsland. It has to do
Yeah.
with
I had her on my show.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's Tracy. I was really amazed. She did that for me and stuff. And then she's got other things that she's worked on. Gacy was her big thing. The
Okay.
Devil in Disguise, the documentary Devil
Yeah.
in Disguise, which has now been adapted into a TV show thing,
Right.
a series, I guess, miniseries, and uh, just everybody. Jay Dobbins
Oh
was
yeah, I
with
love
ATF.
Jay. I had him on the
Yeah,
show.
yeah. Everybody has had this opportunity to meet Jay Dobbins, but me, and he and I worked for the same agency together 20 some years. I
Jay
was
Bird.
East Coast, he was East
Yep.
Coast, West Coast sort of thing, just never crossed each other's paths and stuff. But everybody said, "Hey, reach out." So I reached out to him, and most gracious,
Yeah.
wonderful about doing it. And I said, everybody that did that for me was just so gracious to do the book blurbs. And I was like, yeah, this is another, bucket list thing of these people doing these things for me. And then everything else is coming. Now, hey, I'm on your show. Look at that. See?
Yeah, see how that works. But yeah, I'll back up a little bit to Joe Kenda. I had him on my show. I cold emailed him,
Ah,
and I thought, well, you know what? I gotta try.
you do.
Yeah,
You can
or
try.
or was it a cold? It may have been Steve Gold from Things Police See. You know what? I
Could have
bet it
been.
was Steve Gold.
Yeah.
But anyways, I email him and he gets back to me right away. He says, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." And so I want to talk to you first on the phone. And I'm like, "Okay." So
Yeah.
we're chatting on the phone,
Totally
and
got you.
my wife is the biggest Joe Kenda fan on the planet.
Really? Cool.
and I've got him on speaker, and she's on the
Yeah.
couch, I'm in my chair, and she's just like, "Oh my God, you're talking to Joe Kenda." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Hey Joe, could you say hi to my wife? Her name's Ruth." "Hi Ruth, how are you?" And he's just like,
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh my God, Joe Kenda's talking to me. This is so cool." He was just
It
the
is.
nicest guy. And I do the interview, and we're done. And I said, "Could you do me a favor?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Could you leave a phone message for my wife?"
Yeah. There you
And
go.
she's at work right now. She
Oh,
can't answer the phone. So, just leave her a funny, like, phone message. He said, "Absolutely." So he calls her right away and he says, "This is Joe Kenda.
yeah.
I'm coming for you, Ruth." And just, she still has it. And I'm just like, that is so cool. What a cool dude.
It is. Well, he sent me um my Ford. He actually did it on an audio recording,
Oh,
and it's
nice.
like, oh my God. So I have this thing, and I can play everything. And so that's my next thing, is to get that onto an app to do whatever to put. So with the like the little promo advertising and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Oh,
it's like,
absolutely.
telling people, buy this book or whatever. But it's pretty fascinating, and it when you meet him, he's so down to earth. He's such a nice, humble person. I finally got to meet him in October.
That's great.
But the better thing, or the better part of Joe, is Kathy, and that's his
Oh, yeah.
wife.
That's his bride.
And
Yes.
she is an absolute hoot. She is so funny. She's got the best sense of humor. Her and I sat together for a couple of hours back in October. Of course, we're both like getting tired of sitting, at this thing, but we get the chance to get up. And it was a great event. My friend Danny Plott, who was retired from the state police, and Joe Kenda put on this talk about the Colonial Parkway murders and the whole Alan
Mm,
Wilmer and how the DNA had come about and the things that went on, but also that case. And they went back to the American Detective Homicide Hunter um, episode, which was season 5, episode 1, which is Colonial Parkway Murders. And so they were doing that before an audience of probably, I don't know, good 80 people or so.
yeah.
And it was a great, great place and everything. But I got to know Kathy during this time because she was keeping him in line,
Oh,
make sure he didn't forget to mention this or mention that. And at the same time, letting people, I think it's time for people to get the break so they can get to stand up a few minutes or get a picture with you because, they like that. But she was making these jokes. She was keeping me in stitches over there. She was absolute dream. Uh, and here recently, I'm kind of the texting buddy of Kathy as
okay.
well as Joe. So it's so weird. It's like Kathy will pop out a message. So when she sent me a message here just a few weeks back, and she goes, "I've started reading your book, and I see the similarities between you and Joe already." And she
That's
everything. And then
awesome.
she texted me about, having finished the book and how much she enjoyed it. And I was like, well, oh my goodness, I got Kathy Kenda saying she liked my book.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
So, how long did it take you to write that book?
Uh, if you count the writing and all of the other stuff from the time I started the writing until the time that I actually had a book in hand, 5 years. But I have a procrastination thing, and I would write, and I got a book coach to help me out with these things. But I would write, and the biggest thing was write everything. So I was writing and writing and writing, and then it was like I got to find an editor, but I need an editor that fits me.
Yeah, it's got to be the right
Um,
one. Yeah.
and I looked, and I found I narrowed it down to 3 good ones. One was recommended by Scott, that we mentioned, Scott Morales, and
Yeah.
I was going back and forth and all. And when I finally settled on my one, it had been a year. I had actually taken a year to get it down to 3. And I was fine with that. I wasn't rewriting or anything. I just needed to be sure. And then
Yeah.
once I jumped in with that editing process, I didn't want to have this edit thing that got knocked out in 60 days and I was supposed to just live with it. I wanted to be sure it really flowed and that it really had the impact that I wanted. And I also had to come to that realization. If I'm going to put the things I really want in my book, then it's not going to get down to an 80,000 word book. It's going to be 113,000 words.
Mm.
And it's going to take that up. But it's not the 180,000 that we started out with. It's down, it's trimmed,
Right.
it's shorter. And
Yeah.
that worked out.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was your process? Did you have like a word count goal every day when you were writing, or how did that work?
No, I just started writing my stories. In fact, the first thing that the book coach told me, Susan, she said, I need you to write a story for me, and you do me this. Um, Write the story, and I'll let you know if I think I can work with you or help. She goes, because I get a lot of people who really cannot write. They
Sure.
don't understand punctuation. They don't understand
Yeah.
proper grammar. They do not understand, storytelling. And she said, I need to see that much. I said, okay. So the very first story I wrote is actually chapter 22 in the book. And I had never told that incident to anyone. I'd never told anybody about that. None of my friends. They didn't need to know that. They didn't need to hear all it. And I wrote that story. I sent it to her, and her comeback was, "You can write."
Cool.
She goes, "There's no doubt you can write." And she said, "That is a hard story." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you're the first person that's heard it in 30 some years." I said, "Because I just never told people." So it's there. It came out. She really liked it, and then we worked from there. And I just said, "Well, I function as law enforcement. I wrote reports on timelines,
Yep.
when the first thing came and how I got to this and how I got to
Right.
this, what was happening here." And that's what I did. I said, "Well, I guess I just start from the beginning." And it was like, "Well, what's the beginning?" you know. And because I had the background in fire with ATF and the National Response Team and all those kind of things, the fire thing kind of kept coming along as to
Yeah.
what I was going to name the book. And then that's kind of where we got into becoming fire,
Yeah.
because Tracy Ullman wrote a TV treatment about me a few years back. Unfortunately, Peacock did not jump on that,
Okay.
everything, but she did write it, and she had named it "Girl on Fire," and I had no idea she named it "Girl on Fire." So when she's seeing that I have named this my book "Becoming Fire," she goes, "Did you know what I named that?" And so she sends it to me, and it's like, "Well, I'll be darned, Girl on Fire," and stuff. And I said, "Well, book two is going to be Girl on Fire. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't know what a subtitle will be, but Girl on
Yeah.
Fire." And it's going to be my ATF, mostly my ATF undercover days, but also um, uh, other cases that I worked on that were significant, that were in my office, that weren't necessarily my cases. Um, but uh, the Becoming Fire just kind of came out of that, because it was like, yeah, you can let that spark get snuffed out, or you can put it out yourself, you know, let somebody else drown it, or you can let that spark grow into a fire and, sort of become fire. You
Right.
you let
Now,
that passion grow.
you're self-published, correct?
Yeah, yes, I
Why?
am. Uh, yeah, I spent some time writing letters to literary agents, and
Hmm.
I spent time doing query packages and all of those wonderful things that people say go do. So I did that. I submitted those, and I submitted them all over the place. And I hit up. I didn't try Simon and Schuster, big people like that. I tried small and medium, trying to get
Yeah.
somebody to write me back and email me back. I did their packages just like they said, and no one wrote me back. Not one person wrote me back. Not one person emailed me back. Not one person called me or texted me. Nothing. Finally, this little tiny boutique place that um, I sent the packages they requested to them. She wrote me a very nice email rejection,
Yeah.
but a nice email, personal email rejection, probably a page long. Uh, the very next day, she had sat down, read through the stuff, and she wrote it. And she basically made it very clear that I should continue with what I was doing, don't quit. Um, that she thought that I had a lot of potential, but that her um, publishing outfit, they were too small for
Hmm.
what I was working on.
Okay.
And I didn't take that as an insult. I took that as a compliment,
Yeah,
because she
absolutely.
took the time. She took the time.
That's
And
awesome.
everybody else, I took it as an insult. It's like, could you at least write an email and said, the email could say absolutely not or no, but they didn't.
The best rejection is one that gives you feedback.
Yeah,
An agent saying, "Hey, you know what? You're not exactly what I'm looking for, or this story doesn't, X, Y, or Z, but you might want to consider changing this. You might want to
right,
consider doing that." Yeah, I mean, that's constructive, and I know not everybody has time for that, et cetera, but you know, that's the best, instead of a flat out no or no,
no
email or call
response.
or
Yeah,
yeah, it's like, tell me why. it's like that I think that's the best, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
I think I'm winning on that end of things right now. I do feel like I am because the book is doing well. The reviews on both Amazon and on Goodreads, because I try to tell people, hey, go to Goodreads, go to Goodreads.
Sure.
Particularly if you buy the book from me through my site,
Right.
and you want the autograph and all, please go to Goodreads. I even put it in the back of the book to, I put Goodreads as one of the places to go to. But the reviews have been really solid, really great.
Yeah,
so
they
far.
have. I was looking at that.
And that makes me feel good, and I keep getting it. In fact, I think probably one of the nicest compliments has been, I'll go to my hometown, and I told you how little tiny my hometown was. So the library's there. There's in our county, there's 2 small libraries, and they set it up so I can do a book signing at both places. And 80 people show up at my hometown library to get my autograph and my book. And that blows me away because it's like 80 people and there's a few hundred people in there.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And there they are. And they're family friends. And the oldest person there is 97. She's known me since I was born.
Aw.
And she was my Sunday school teacher and my kindergarten teacher. And I grew up with her daughter. I mean, all these things. She's there encouraging me and supporting me. But everybody's there. Family, friends, cousins, everybody's there.
Right.
And it's wonderful. There's a lady there that she knew my mama when my mama was pregnant with me. And she's, telling me. So they're telling me stories about my mama and my daddy.
Sure.
And stuff, how proud they'd be. So this is great. So I'm doing this, and somebody comes in and they're telling me, well, there's no place to park on the street. We had to go around the block 3 times. And I'm laughing my butt off because it's a 2-block town.
Sure.
And there's no parking left in town for anybody. And I'm just thinking, I want to get up and go outside and see this, but I've got to sit there and keep doing books. So for the 2 hours, I'm there for 3.
Yeah.
They're letting people know at the other town that I'm on my way. I'll be there in a few minutes. And I get there, and there's 20 people just sitting there waiting for me, just as polite as could be.
And
I recognize this one face on the crowd, and I'm looking at the guy, and I'm looking at the guy going, how do I know this guy and stuff? Well, it's Irv Moran, and he's been retired from ATF for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's one of those Vietnam vets that's just incredible because he was part of the LERP, L-E-R-P.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, incredible guy. And he is there waiting for me. And he's wanting my book. And he'd heard about it. And he's coming to my book signing. And he showed up there. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, because it's probably been 30 years since I laid eyes on him, or 35 years.
Yeah.
But he's been retired 22, and he shows up. And that was very, those kind of things are just super flattering. And
yeah, that's awesome.
They're great moments. It makes you feel so good. And so every time these little events happen, so all these other events have been taking place, and all these other people are going. But at these events, I've got guys, now, boys I went to school with in high school, and they're grown men. They're my age now, in their 60s. And they've shown up for my book signing. And they're getting the book from me. And then I'm getting them wanting to join me on Facebook. And then they're sending me messages on Facebook telling me how much they enjoyed the book, but also that they haven't read a book since high school. Okay. And this is the first book they've actually read since
That's
high
awesome.
School, and how much they like it. Or guys that knew me when I worked and going, wow, I wish, this is wonderful. And they're telling me, this is probably one of the best books about law enforcement, and the accuracy that you pinpoint it with, the days in state police and all the things that you went through are so much like what I experienced back in my day, in my career. And it's probably one of the best books I've read in 15, 20 years. This is, you were spot on. And those things, it feels good.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it greatly to hear that.
So let's start wrapping this up. We've been going almost 2 hours. If you're, this is a fun question. I like to ask this question. If your book ever goes to the big or small screen, what actress would you want playing you?
Sandra Bullock and I are both aging, so it can't be Sandra as much as I like her.
Well, a dead or alive, whatever. We have a time machine. Yeah. So, don't worry about that.
Yeah. I'm going to need somewhere between Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy.
Okay.
I kind of need that mix,
Perfect. Perfect. I'm a big Sandra Bullock fan.
Yeah.
I don't know why she married Jesse James, but whatever. I guess we
It
all
was a
have
fun moment.
Yeah, I guess. Not that I have anything against Jesse. I watched West Coast Choppers all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
All right. So the name of the book is Becoming Fire: Chasing the Passion to Protect, Serve, and Love,
That's
a true
me.
crime memoir.
Here it is.
There we go. So where can
Yep.
people go to find out more about you and your book?
Okay, if you see my name down here, it's Jennifer Clark Eskew. Now, normally I go by Jennifer Eskew, but that's my name that my parents gave me, Clark. So I put that on there because that's from them. Um, you know, uh, Either www.jenniferclarkeskew.com, or you can hit up at Jennifer Eskew 958, which was my badge number, 958. And I am on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I didn't have all the social media before all of this.
Sure.
So I try to remember. Oh, LinkedIn. I'm on there, Jennifer Eskew, or Jennifer Eskew author, because we'll stick that on things sometimes. But you can find any of those things and find me that way. And if you happen to make a comment or whatever, if it's, as long as it's not a trolling comment, I am one of those people who will respond back to you. I'll reach out. I'll say thank you. I'll say hello, or I'll tag you with a blue heart and some fire, little fire symbols, just so you know I'm paying attention. I'm out here and I'm listening to you. And I've had some people actually, I guess you call it miniature chat, by posting.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Jennifer, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for the conclusion of my interview with author and retired ATF agent Jennifer Eskew. The title of her book, Becoming Fire: Chasing the Passion to Protect, Serve, and Love, a True Crime Memoir. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Cops and Writers podcast. If you haven't done so yet, could you take a minute and rate and review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? If you have already, thank you. As always, thank you for all of your support, and, of course, let's be careful out there.